year. I know you were doing top of course, different customers, and funding for funding, but that's a few years ago.
I guess the commission would be with us as soon as she's able to.
Okay, that's fine.
She is physically in the
Right, vote.
Well,
Which
what
now
about
has...
here instead of Martin Corinna's destiny?
Say again?
Corinna's just asking me why you're sitting there and not Martin.
Martin only came back a couple of hours ago.
Oh, I see.
And I put the agenda together with Alison.
I see.
But I'm almost as surprised as you are, Corinne. So don't worry, this is not
Just
going to...
unusual when the chairman and the vice chairman are meeting, if they're both there, the chairman takes the meeting.
Well, we're quite lucky to have to find
I need the practice. As much as anything else. And I
There was
promise,
a chance I wouldn't make it, sorry.
I promise I'll keep it very short. So.
So we're letting
Martin have a bit of
something.
Okay, welcomes and apologies. Again, apologies from Lewis. I've just been told that Donna does have to be with us before we finish, but she's at a meeting at the moment.
Yeah, I think we should.
Declaration by councillors of personal interest in items on the agenda. Do we have any?
No.
Thank you. Questions from the public? We don't have any. We don't have any members of the public here tonight. I do need to remind you that we are being filmed.
There's a
We have-
person sitting over there,
Sorry.
the member of the
We
public.
do, I'm just about to say, we do have somebody here recording and filming everything. So we need to be very circumspect with some of the things we might want to say. Right, minutes of the last council meeting on the 10th of September. Could I have somebody to propose that they are acceptable and a seconder? Karina, thank you very much indeed. Matters arising from the minutes not dealt with in separate items, there weren't any. So the first thing we go on to is item 5.1, is the Gypsy and Traveller letter to Mr. Pennycock. Basically, what we need to say on that, we have had a problem getting it through to him because his position was changed when we lost the vice chair of the Labour Party. Alison's actually managed to track down the new incumbent.
Oh,
And the
right.
letter has gone to him, and we've kept our MP informed all the way through as well. So that letter is going ahead, and we're waiting for feedback.
Excuse me, who is the new incumbent?
What's the position?
Stephen Reed.
That's it.
Stephen Reed. Okay.
Stephen Reed, yeah. Sorry.
Road traffic concerns and GLAM. I had hoped that Tracy would be here to talk about GLAM. There's nothing really new raised with GLAM that we are not already aware of. The drive to try and look at our rural environment, introduce traffic calming measures, speed on the 2145 and the A road going, not particularly for us, but the A road going down to the Witterings. We have, in the meantime, had a meeting with some local parishioners who, I'm not going to use any names for obvious reasons, but I was very encouraged to see the small meeting we had 2 weeks ago was very well attended with at least a couple of new parishioners who are very keen to get involved with the community speed watch system. Alison's been in contact with a chap called Stephen Connell, who runs this, to get guidance from him how we should take it forward. And we hope that within a few weeks' time, actually, we'll actually have another meeting to look at the speed watch scheme. We've got another resident who's been very active putting together a petition, which has been on our website, it's been in the Parishioner, and it's also been in the other one, which I always forget, magazine. The Spread, that's the one, where people have asked me to signing up to ways of improving, in particular in this case, the footpaths leading down towards the school, where there seems to be a little bit of an impasse at the moment about who actually looks after the crud on the footpath itself, not so much the
Footway, on the footway.
footway. Not so much the overgrowth which is coming from the trees on the side, but there's basically not enough room for a mum and a pushchair to go down there safely when it's school opening and closing time. So,
Can I just say, I think I saw that
about 10 minutes before I came here tonight, this application for us to commit £5 to this organisation, which is going to help us. I just wondered whether we were going to fund a national organisation rather than a local effort. A local effort wouldn't need us to contribute £5 ahead.
I think what you saw, David, was actually the means by which some of these petitions are done. An organisation gets in there and says, we'll run it for you, and then they ask for a contribution. That contribution is totally voluntary. What they do ask is if you want your signature to be counted. At the moment, I think I saw just earlier, somewhere around about 434 signatories had already signed up to it. But if you pass your permission, if you pass on the link to somebody else, then your signature is counted. You don't have to pay any money into it. It's a community thing to try and draw people's attention to a problem. Okay, and she's been very proactive, and I think that sort of effort should be commended.
Can I just comment on the pathway? The pathway must be part of the roadway, and surely therefore it's up to the traffic authorities and to keep the pathway clear. Now I can tell you that the bit outside opposite the anchor, we asked for that to be dealt with, and they did in fact come and deal with that eventually. It needs to be again, of course. But I think you have to go to the highways authorities.
We've done it. We've done it. We've put forward the problem. We've sent them photographs.
Yeah.
Allison's chased it up, and we're waiting for our latest chase up to say, because they came back and said, well, actually, it's not our responsibility. And I'm thinking, well, how much responsibility is it? Because actually, at the moment, I think it's dangerous for mothers and toddlers and pushchairs to go down that footway, to and from school. It's just not the space. They have to step into the road.
Do you know why? Because pushchairs are like this big. When I walked down there with my little McLaren baby buggy, they were about a foot narrower. It's probably literally something like that.
I promise you, it's no, the path itself is no wider than that.
Yeah.
And it would be hard for me to pull along it without having to step off. So it's not being taken lightly, this one, because I think it is a safety issue.
Sure. But I bet the standards will have changed now.
But I think pushchairs and tractors, they come together in size, don't they, Mary? Right, if there's nothing else on that one, Peter, could I call on you, please? Unless you've got anything else of particular, then particularly on an update for devolution and reorganisation, where we are, any pearls of knowledge to share with us?
Well, on the 23rd of October, September, which was after the last parish council meeting and before this one, we had a full council meeting, which, as before, I chaired. And it was a very well-behaved meeting which took all of 3 hours, at which the county council proposal, this is the county council proposal for unitary, which is to have one unitary council for the entire West Sussex, was discussed and debated, and eventually there was a vote, and out of the 59 members present, I think there was 38 who supported it, 4 abstentions, and something like 17 or 18, it adds up to 59, were against it. So we had more than twice the opposition supporting it. So that went in, but we weren't the only ones doing it. All district councils, all 7 of them, including the CDC and the other ones, there are 7 of them, all put there, or was government wanted it by the end of that week, which I think was the 26th. So everybody sweat hard and got it all done in time. So, and the other councils all of a different opinion, which maybe don't let me tell you about, which essentially doesn't concur with what the county says, or would like, is the better word, but which is sort of, what is known as D2, which is 2 unitary councils. So that would have all gone in, and that this was backed up with information about the costs and the savings and other information. And so the government will now have all that. They, not us, the government is going to launch a consultation. They said October, well we're in October now, so I think it's more like November or just Christmas, I think. Their consultation of how we are on residents and its public receive this, and when that's done, then early next year, probably around about March, they're going to tell us which of those options they want us to pursue, and they're going to decide on the basis of the information they've been sent. What I think is important to realise is that quite uniquely amongst the council that have been doing this, we, together with the 7 others, had a consultant who was very experienced in all of this, and we produced one report with the moniker of each of the councils on the front, all 8 of us, counting and the 7 others, where the basic information was all passed and agreed by all parties, but then interpreted in different ways, but it was all agreed by all. That was quite unique. Most other councils, they've either fallen up with each other or fallen up with a consultant, different views, but we had one, about 180 pages of it, so that's the starting point, so a unique description. So I think that's what I can say about the local government reorganisation. On devolution, which is the question of election of the mayor and transfer of powers from the government, we're not there yet. Different parties are making gradually their candidates known for the mayor, and that election is not until I think it's the 1st week of May, when there will be a publicly election for people to cast their vote, registered voters, as to which mayoral candidate they support. And there will be 4 or 5 compromises of all parties, and the independents have made their candidates known. At the moment, I think there are only 2, but there'll be more. Let's talk. It's very early days, very good. May is what 7 or 8 months away, so it's quite a long way away. So that's devolution, but the plan, therefore, is that there will be an election for mayor next year, May 26, and the unitary authorities, that will not be until the 27th, 2027, I beg your pardon, a year later. So meanwhile, the county council, other councils will just carry on until 2027, when the full election of the unitary, whatever they're called, unitary candidates will take place.
I'm a little confused here.
Sorry?
I'm a little confused if we're going to have a mayor to look after the lot of it.
Yeah, all of that takes time to set up. I mean,
So he or she will be elected,
yes.
but not actually go into place until after 2027.
After, well,
It's
yes and
different,
no.
it's completely separate. Isn't it?
Is it?
The full operation will be in 2028. Meanwhile, the shadow, new authority will be the shadow, and the existing councils will carry on the way they are, but gradually passing on their authority, their work. It cannot happen overnight. So 27, 28 is a transitional period, I think is the best way to describe it. And then in 2028, we will have the full mayoral authority with the unitary authorities part of it. But the unitary authorities will then replace the county council and the district councils or the borough council and carry on the work that they do.
Thank you.
So if you think that's very clear, you're doing better than I am. That's where it is. But what I wanted to tell you is that I think in the immediate we have a much bigger problem, which I fed to you, and I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but this plan of the Scotia gas network to dig up the Stockbridge Road and close it for 7 weeks.
Could you say this again, please?
And I've been working hard on that because the main problem is you can divert cars, but diverting buses is not very easy because it means a lot of people will not only bus loaders. And so the first thought that I had, and a lot of others did, which is because it would be closed except for blue light services between A27 and Grosvenor Road, which is sort of roughly where the shop is. That bit. So, because that's where a lot of the work has to be done, and the relining and new gas mains. So we've said, well, can you run the buses through? I did think they would, for the reasons which I've worked out for myself. The reasons being that you have a bus every 15 minutes and another one in the opposite direction. So they'd have to move all their works, the people, their equipment, in less than every 15 minutes. So they never get any work done. That's point one. The other reason I realised is that if you open it up and let the bus through, other people in cars want to get through as well. And then you have a fight and an argument, so they're worried about the safety of the personnel. And the third reason is that if you're going to have a gated entrance on the A27, buses will line up and screw up the traffic while they have to let them through. So, which I knew the question I was asking wasn't going to work, but I wanted to see the answers, and those are the answers which have come back.
But in terms of traffic, though, all that traffic now be going up to Munster.
Most of it, yes, a lot of it will go Appleground Lane South as well, but you can't have buses going up Appleground Lane South. But yes, it will have to
So
go.
all the rat runs are going to
It will have to go.
outside.
I can't speak that everybody else is speaking, sorry. So it will be this road, but it will also, over my side, it will be Wappham's Lane, Green Lane, and then on the same road, up to Hunston, up to the transformer station, past the preschool, and on to the A57 there. That's what will happen. Yes.
What about,
So,
what's going to happen to the businesses that are in that
well,
little
all
section?
things, some of them will have to be recompensed.
Yeah,
The gas company know that.
there's 3 or 4
I mean,
little
there are
businesses.
lots of questions, but it's early days. It's not until the 5th of January that this is going to happen.
Could you just
All
recap
all
for me?
these
Because
questions are being asked and being worked on. And
I didn't understand when you started off. Who was behind this?
Scotia Gas Networks. that's the-
What, social, did you say?
Scottish.
Scotia.
The Scottish Gas Networks is the company that runs the gas network. So they are our
I
supplier.
don't know that. No,
They are supplier. And the work's necessary, and you can't stop that. If it's necessary, it's got to be done. But it has to be done in conjunction with our highways authority and with the bus company as well. So there's a lot more detail, and I've sent it to you, but
Thank you.
after please don't restrict it, because some dates might change, things might change. But the point I made very forcibly, because they had a closed sort of teams meeting with about, I don't know, 20 people, is that they really must inform our 6 councils and Chelsea as well, aren't they? And they took very careful note of that they must keep us in the loop as to what they're planning to do. You're looking at about 20,000 people down there, so don't take it lightly.
But at least it's being looked at.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the main thing. So if anybody comes back to us.
Absolutely. But the question about what seems easy, but it isn't, is about letting buses through. I knew what the answer would be, and I've got the answer exactly what I thought the answer is. There are too many.
No way this work can just be done overnight.
No, that can't be done either. There's going to be frequently asked questions, and that's going to be one of them.
Why didn't they do it once they're closed for doing the traffic lights? And we've got 6 weeks of that. We're only into the 3rd week.
Yeah, but that's
Okay, thank you for that.
so that's really what I say, I'm afraid. Not sort of happy news, but we are.
There's not much happy news around.
Well, happy news is nearly Christmas.
Perhaps we have one meeting where we can only have happy news.
And after that, the days will get longer again.
That is true.
Right. Anybody got anything else for Peter?
So anyway, I will check that what you were talking about earlier in the planning section, that planning application has gone from CBC to county highways for their views on it, which you're telling me is a new application. It's not a repeat or a...
As I read it, it's a new application, yes. And we will in turn write a letter
There's
to
a
them.
number of it.
If it's a new application, it'll be on the portal.
No, that's not the last number.
Sierra India.
No, that's not the right one.
Yeah.
That's not the right one.
Shall we email it to you?
Can you just email it?
We'll email it.
It saves you a lot of time.
Yeah.
We're statutory consultees anyway, but I think we should write an extra letter.
Yeah, I think we agree to do that.
Yes, of course they are.
We'll just write a little letter saying
That's in the two. When I know that, I will then do what I can.
okay.
Meanwhile, I'm sure Dawn will do what she can with the district, but it wants to be further.
Thank you very much indeed.
I'll go to Burnham, I'll give them the same.
Don't get so much.
As far as I know, they were close to Burton today. Not
Tell
today.
you one thing, is a 20 mile an hour speed limit just doesn't work, and nobody takes any notice.
I do.
I'll see you next Friday.
Right, let's move on to item number 6. Item number 7, CDC Council
Oh, is
update.
that me?
Oh, yes, welcome.
Thank you so much.
I did put down in the agenda, can you give us an update on how the new planning team is settling in? And can you give us some form of idea of their thoughts towards the changes we're facing in Fetchers Lane and Melita and
Okay.
things like that? No, nothing too specific.
The,
it's all-
the planning team is not really that new. Those at the top, you know, the Tony Ritters and the Fionas and etc. are exactly the same. So to be honest, this isn't going to change anything. With regard to what you just said, and I am in close touch, and I said to Tracy, we need to have a meeting. We need to have a meeting.
I've been copied and read all those
Yeah.
emails while Martin's been away as well.
Yeah, there are a few things I wasn't able to say in that, so I will organise.
And you'll pick up on a bit I wrote about the other stovepipes which might be.
No, I'm not
involved as well.
it's just that we need to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
So, Alison, if I ping you, say, 3 dates, pick what is, you know, appropriate, and we'll meet wherever we meet. Okay, I'll try and do that fairly speedily. I need to speak to Fiona Stevens first. So that's all right, we'll do that. I would just like to give CDC's perspective over LGR. And in the interest of transparency, I can tell you that I didn't vote in favour of the power of West Sussex.
Sorry, you think it's in favour?
I did not vote in favour of the power of West Sussex Unitarian.
You mean the continuation of West Sussex County
Well,
Council?
basically, yes. It was quite interesting actually, because I was actually on the working group for West Sussex County Council. So I was able to kind of see both sides. There was a little bit of flip-flopping, to be honest with you. Peter's absolutely right. CDC and West Sussex use the same consultant. The reality at the end of the day was that a pan West Sussex was considered to be financially viable, slightly edging ahead of the two. But actually, both from a financial perspective were considered to be viable. The transition, what one might be expected to pay in terms of transition, was going to be slightly less if we went for Pan West Sussex. All the districts and boroughs wanted to. West Sussex County Council is the County Council basically wanted a continuation of West Sussex County Council. Now I did have a meeting with Lee Whitehouse, with my West Sussex County Council hat on. Lee Whitehouse is the CEO of West Sussex. And what I was concerned about was, we all know that things like adult social care, children's services, particularly SEND services, EHCPs, they're not working. Now, my concern was that if we go Pan West Sussex, we are likely to have very much a continuation of the same. And it is, I know as a West Sussex County Councillor, albeit the sales are down the road. I am in so much competition for resources. You know, I mean, a massive amount of competition with the far north of West Sussex for everything. And my view was that, I felt we would only have about 100 councillors, a maximum of 100 councillors if we had Pan West Sussex. And I'll be honest, that filled me with horror. Because I cannot, I mean, basically, there's me for West Sussex, and there's 4 of us collectively covering sales in Sidlesham. But we're all quite busy. I mean, I am off the scale busy, with caseworking things. And the thought that would, you know, we may not even have 2 councillors. I think if you work that out, we're on something like 1.4. So we'd have to pick up somewhere else, which could be here, actually. So you might have sales with Sidlesham or somewhere else. I mean, I don't know, because the Boundary Commission need to look at that, although that's not going to happen until 2027. So I felt that I wasn't really doing right by my residents to have a continuation of the same. Because if we split, but we share services when it's appropriate to do so, but work independently when it's not, we have an opportunity to have a real root and branch look at what's going on with highways, SEND, education, children's services, which I don't think would ordinarily happen. And I think local government is becoming far too remote. West Sussex is already very remote, but at least with the services that CDC provide, there's some degree of locality there. You know, it's reasonably local.
So I have a question for you that, with the consultation coming up, and then the chance for the public to give its opinion, the points you've just raised, which I think are incredibly valuable, how are you and colleagues going to tell the public of the different opinion, inform them of the choices they've got? Because I'm not 100% sure at the moment that actually the general public really know what devolution is all about.
No, I don't think they do.
Unless we have a local election where you can all wave a banner.
I genuinely don't think they do. And that is something that we sort of, not all of us, but a few of us have had a conversation about. I'm going to be honest, you know, let's not assume that this consultation is going to change the world. Because the government will have a very clear idea of what it wants. And one of the worries that we had was that Brighton and Hove would have a disproportionate amount of sway.
But just stopping you there, they have a disproportionate amount of debt. They
Well,
have a
they do.
huge.
Well, we're not taking on their debt.
Well, this is something I'm
That's it.
asking.
Because the unitaries will be completely separate. Brighton and Hove is either going it alone, but I think they've moved away from that now. They want to nab a little bit to the east and a little bit to the west. Largely because they don't really have anywhere to
make themselves big enough.
Well, they don't have anywhere to put
to
houses. So they need to have a bit more space. So, and also because the numbers
For the numbers,
disproportionate.
Yeah.
So you kind of, I mean, that was another problem with West Sussex. You know, you would have a situation where you have Brighton and Hove at about 300,000 and West Sussex at over 900,000. You know, it's not proportionate. And the government has said that they're looking at sort of 300,000 or 400,000. That's what they consider to be appropriate. So I think we need to be realistic about the consultation. You know, at the end of the day, the government will do whatever the government wants it to do. The most we can do is to make sure that people are informed. What I don't want to do is give people unrealistic expectations and say, right, if we all go out there with our banners and say, we want 2 or we want 1, because it won't.
No, I think most people are especially about consultations sometimes.
Yeah.
And you use realistic, I use cynicism maybe. But I think one of the biggest things we've got to wrestle with here is change management. This is fundamental change. It's going to affect all of our lives. And to to manage that properly, there have to be forums where information is exchanged and people are consulted before the consultation. So I personally welcome any CDC initiatives to say, bring a roadshow to the village hall here and say, right, this is what it's all about, this is what you're going to be asked. And this is
think
where
that's
we might be going.
Partly that's the problem, Nick. We don't know what we're going to be asked. Because this is a government-run, it's a government-run consultation.
Basically, the government didn't know what it was doing when it started
Of
this.
course, Trish, you know, and it's all something that should have been completed over 4 years has suddenly been squashed into a year or 18 months, and it's bizarre. So my only concern, and I get what you're saying, my only concern is that, A, we don't know what they're going to ask, so who knows. You know, that hopefully they will give the D's and B's and county some sort of a heads up about what's going to be asked. But what I'm very conscious of not doing is giving people unrealistic expectations, because at the end of the day this is not a decision.
I mean, the only thing we can do is actually put little bits in on our website and things like that, trying to keep people informed. And if you can feed into us and any bits and pieces like that,
I will.
I
When I
think it'd be
do.
very useful.
I don't think we're going to hear very much now. But, you know, there was frantic activity up to the 23rd of September. West Sussex County Council met in the morning, followed by Cabinet. In the evening, CDC met, followed by Cabinet, and the letters went in. Unfortunately, the D's and B's didn't agree with West Sussex. So we just have to that's all.
Did you have a
I'm very good question. I'm interested.
We've got thousands of questions.
Most of which I can't answer.
Correct, I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, I presume if it all goes through, where is the mayor going to operate from? And what,
We have no idea.
that's a good question.
We have no idea.
Presumably, the mayor will have staff, and therefore they will require some sort of building, I would have thought, to house them in.
Yeah, but
Probably the Royal Pavilion in Brighton.
It won't be a simple.
I mean, realistically, when you think about it, think of the whole of West Sussex. You know, we've got 70 odd councillors in there at the moment. So if they choose Pan West Sussex, we'd somehow have to squash 100 in. You could probably do that if you're a bit squashed and you took out some of the public gallery. But if you split West Sussex into two, it probably doesn't really make very much sense to have two completely separate buildings. But you see, all these things, Nick, are things that there hasn't been time to really have that, because the most important thing has been to put the business case together and for councils to make their determination as to what they think. The rest of it is really logistics, but we won't have very long, because they will conclude, we think they will conclude their deliberations by March, which makes sense because it will be in time for the mayoralty to be elected, the mayor to be elected in May. There will be what they call vesting day will be in, I can't remember if it's April or May 28th. But we have this very perverse situation where there will be elections in 2027 for the shadow unitary. So you're going to have the shadow unitary working alongside the current councillors, the D's and B's and West Sussex, basically getting everything ready for vesting day the following year.
As I read it, there was a huge opportunity to improve things, but at the same time there's a massive risk involved in rushing it through and getting it all wrong.
Of course.
So
We have no choice.
Okay.
I mean, I would think that the worst thing that they could, I think the whole thing is a shambles, is to put these two things together, the reorganisation and the mayor. We don't need a mayor because we are not a city and we are not that cohesive, if you like. But to do the two things together, which actually are not connected, the mayor is not going to be in charge of all those councillors.
No.
So, and people will think that. They'll think, oh, well, the mayor, we'll write to the mayor because he'll tell Councillor Johnson from wherever to do such a thing. It's not. It's a different thing altogether. To do these two things together is, in my view, stupid.
I think also people conflate the two.
Well, that's what I mean. That's
Exactly, and so people don't realise that
Hence,
it's two.
At the moment, they don't know whether it's CDC or West Sussex. When they talk about the council,
No.
Hence the importance of communication during change.
I think we have, when once we know what's happening,
Yeah.
you know, then we'll be able to do it. And the only other thing that I wanted to mention was obviously the Nolita appeal.
Yeah.
It is on the 6th of December and it's by public inquiry. I have asked CDC how they, where that's going to be held. I'm presuming probably City Council,
Right.
but I don't know. But that tends to be where they're heard, although there was one in Wittering that was heard over in Wittering, but I don't really think...
It was City Council last time.
I think I'll go to City.
If they're going to do it too with City Council, can you make sure they have microphones?
they do.
Because we couldn't hear properly, seriously, what was being said.
I mean, it might, I can't imagine it being at East Plant House, but anyway, it's by a public inquiry, so obviously people are quite at liberty to go and have their say, providing they let people know. I have asked CDC for more details because at the moment all I know is that it's on the 6th of December and it's a public inquiry. So I don't know whether they have, or whether it is their intention to instruct council, or whether they're doing it in-house or not.
Gemma, can I just quickly ask Donna a question? Have you had or will you be having the committee out for site visit?
It's not, you can't, right.
Never say can't to me.
No, I don't know. I mean, if officers, if when it comes to committee,
You can ask.
then obviously we can ask.
Yeah.
We're going to have to be a little bit careful because, of course, planning rules and regs have changed. So it will probably, I'm expecting that it will probably warrant a conversation with the chair of planning.
But you wouldn't, you can't tell me now that there would be.
Are you sorry, Trish? Are you talking about the public inquiry?
No, I'm not
No,
talking.
you're
I'm
talking about when they put the application.
Yeah, I'm talking about have your committee.
Well, that
have they been out there?
when the new application goes forward, and when what we need to do is, first of all, we have to make sure that it goes to committee, because there's no guarantee that it will.
No, but you can take it to committee.
Well, I can take it to
exactly.
committee.
This is where I'm going.
And I will do that. I'm hoping that I don't have to red card it. I'm hoping
Why not? Why would you not?
because it may not, because I'm very cautious, Trish, not to abuse the red card.
That's not abusing it. You
No,
haven't done it for
but
lots of
I have said, to be clear, that I will do that,
Yeah.
but it may not be necessary. I will do it,
Yeah.
but it may not be necessary to do that because it is a major application and it's quite contentious.
Yeah.
Under those circumstances, what is happening is that the chair of planning, the local members and the senior planners are having a conversation, and I will obviously be a party to that conversation, and I will be asking that it is decided at committee rather than delegated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they say no, which I don't suspect they will, but if they do say no, then obviously I will
You'll red card it.
obviously I will red card it.
All I would ask is that, unlike last time, there are going to be no mistakes, because I think last time we had an appeal, it was a shambles really. It was, you know the problem with the wording and all that sort of rubbish. We cannot accept that again, and particularly for the residents in Chalk Lane and things like
But
that.
I think we do need to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Which
we will have.
Organise.
Okay, let's move on.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much indeed, Don. Right, let's move on to item 8. And the elders of Mr. Norman Robson. First of all, can you update councillors of the outcomes of the AGM?
Yes,
And
could do.
how it's affected the SEA, how you're set up at the moment to run, what's going to be moving forward.
Yeah.
On the buffers.
Tomorrow night, so.
Do you mind if I take it in a different order?
Look.
And that is get out of the way the latest management accounts, of which you had a notification and a copy.
I think I've got copies of that.
Okay, so what I'm just going to talk to you for a few minutes about is the September 25 management accounts. And basically, you may recall the previous month, when we only had August figures, I was getting concerned that something like over £5,000 change around from the previous financial year. That's been addressed in September, because if you look at the bottom line, we were, a year ago in September, we had made a surplus of £49, and that compares to the current year to date of a loss of just over 1,000. So we've pulled back, shall we say, and improved the situation a bit. When I met with you in the last occasion, I did make clear that we had been taking our eyes off the issue, mainly because of internal disunity, I think you would call it. And that wasted an awful lot of time with nothing constructive looking forward. I think it's fair to say, we'll come back to that. So in terms, let's just finish with the management accounts for September. You will notice that there has been no income from Infinity for August and September. That's not that we haven't been invoicing, but I have chased them for money, and I've been a little bit stronger this week and told them that further action may well be necessary unless this is resolved.
Can you give us some idea of how much?
Yeah, we, excluding the invoice which has just been prepared, £1,500. They've managed to find the money in previous occasions when it's got to that extent, but I've just given a bit of a warning across their bows that this can't go on and further action might have to be considered.
Yeah.
So that's how it's been left. So there is no income from Infinity. Moving further down, there are bar takings. There's been no, should we say, social activity of any substance, and so there's no bar takings. The tea bar has done pretty well. So we continue to do well. I.e., that is a surplus. So whatever the teas and coffees are being sold at, that is actually the profit derived, and therefore it's a nice steady little earner, basically, thanks to Karina and her friends. So that's on the income side. On the outgoing side, basically the electricity has settled down into a much more routine figure with the utilities. And the only other thing is the maintenance, which was pretty minimal. So not a lot more to report than that. So I don't know, I wouldn't think there's any questions particularly arising out of the monthly management accounts. Okay.
I do have one little question.
Yeah.
I wasn't here for the August meeting, well, it wasn't the August meeting, but there was a spike in electricity up to just almost £1,200, £1,100 in August. Prior to that, the next highest amount was 630, when it was normally 220. What was the spike for the electricity?
The spike from that is easily explained. BT have my address, and I've always paid on time. But for some obscure reason, when we had Wi-Fi introduced, they put the written letter demanding X in the letterbox.
Right.
And frankly, one very rarely opens the letterbox on the building. And the result of that was I didn't pick up the bill for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
They then, first thing I know about it is a letter from solicitors saying if you don't pay X, we'll see you in court. So all of a sudden, I was confronted with a big bill. And that's what it is.
Go automate and get sent a letter. But it does, as an aside, it does raise a very quickly. Could our clerk please have a key to the letterbox? We do use it as our registered address.
We've only got one key.
We've only got one key.
We'll
at the
have a
moment,
cut.
But we'll
I
I
just,
think we can afford to have it cut.
But if she could have one, then I think that would be
Careful where you take it, don't take it to any cheap place, take it to a proper place.
well,
Take it to the nice place on the
I know what you mean.
estate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're brilliant.
You can waste lots of money going to cheap
And
stuff,
they're cheaper.
but they don't work.
Sorry, Lord.
Experience.
I interrupted. Carry on.
So that's, if you like, an update on where we are now. Now, the next thing is you asked about an update on the AGM. There's one or two faces in this room at the AGM in any event. But basically, before the AGM, and incidentally, it's worse than France, there have been 3 chairmen in 3 weeks. So a little bit worse than France. And in such a scenario, trying to be chairman, be the treasurer, etc., and with a new team of people, with only 2 existing trustees, is asking a lot to get everything done as it ought to be done. Because until we hold tomorrow's committee meeting, of which the agenda has been circulated, really we haven't got to grips with who's going to be responsible for grass cutting, etc., etc. So a distribution of responsibilities is key to tomorrow's evening meeting. Jogging back then to the AGM, basically we held the AGM on a Monday, and it was only on Saturday when I phoned React to say, you asked me for some numbers which you wanted to report on financially. I learned I'm off to Scotland for a wedding, shan't be there. And that was on the Saturday, with the AGM on the Monday. So my immediate reaction was, we've got this issue with the Devonshires outstanding, and I firstly phoned them and forewarned them that unfortunately, unless they resign...
Can we be very careful as this is
Yes.
I think we're all aware of the discussions which have gone on.
And
I think
they did resign.
Yeah.
They did resign. So that eased the, if you like, the issue. That has not gone away. It's quite difficult to, as an open meeting here. But one of the issues arising was Blackford, and unfortunately, I had an email beginning of October to say he would be pulling the new theatre productions Kindly Leave the Stage, which I think everybody is aware of. That was my fault, so he said, and so I asked him to come round for a one-to-one meeting. The following day, on which he said, it's my fault that I'm pulling this, he then wrote to me, say he's also pulling another show, but that one is due to new theatre productions, and they haven't learned their lines.
It's the local paper last week, that one.
Sorry?
That was in the local paper last week.
Well, okay, so
I think
so basically...
what we're possibly more interested in, I am, I don't know about the other councillors, is that rather than the dirty washing which was going on before, let's put that aside, let's deal with it outside a formal council meeting. Where are we with the SCA? Who's the chairman? Who's the vice chairman? Who's the treasurer? Who are the trustees? What's your business plan going forward?
Yeah.
we have a meeting tomorrow night.
That to me is critical. Well, I thought you voted for your trustees and your chairman and everything else at your AGM.
No, we don't vote. We vote for trustees, but we don't vote for positions until the next meeting. And that will be
It's been like a
tomorrow.
council meeting.
Okay.
That's always been the way it's been run.
And that's tomorrow evening, which is as early as I get it, because what one or two people who are on holiday.
Sorry.
And I really wanted the whole house.
So is everybody happy about who are the new trustees and things? Because I don't know who they're.
Yeah, I was there. It was all carefully handled and done properly.
I haven't seen the names. Sorry, I'm just asking
No,
a
I'm
simple
just
question.
saying, that's my opinion. And
Well, Tricia was there.
yes, I think we could.
But who-
As you said, voted for the new trustees, who both spoke, and as you said,
Let me put this another way. Can we, as a parish council, welcome the new trustees by name?
Well, one of them, of course, you will know, was previously...
well, you know who they are. Well, I
Council,
would have told you.
No,
She
she-
should have meeting.
No, I have stayed away from this.
Sorry?
I've stayed away from this. I've partitioned myself from what was going on.
Well, there's one
Obvious
person
reasons.
you haven't included as a trustee, and that is Richard Stewart. And Lucinda Gibson House. You've got Lucinda's email, haven't you? But you haven't got Richard's. Have you got Richard's? Well, when you did an email to the trustees, you didn't include Richard. He's known as Rick, by the way, he likes to be called Rick.
But because I haven't had proper confirmation of who the trustees were, I knew yourself and I'd heard about it.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I said hadn't been told who the trustees were officially, so
Right,
we need that information before.
yeah, well that is an up-to-date of the new ones.
Okay.
I think the secretary will send it all in after tomorrow's
Yeah.
meeting, won't she?
Yes.
It'll
No,
all be
that's
there.
fine.
You mentioned Lucinda, haven't you, your name is?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
You mentioned Lucinda's name as a new trustee as well, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes.
And you know Lucinda because she
Yes,
was
yes, yeah.
previously a parish
And
council.
I was at the meeting as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we were all there.
Okay. Sorry.
You asked me to report on the AGM, but I think we've actually covered that with the new trustees in the first meeting of the committee tomorrow. In answer to your question, who's the chairman, the vice chairman, etc., well, you're looking at the show at the moment, basically. These are new people, two new people and two existing people. So you start off with a weak team, frankly, and it had never been my intention to allow myself to stand as chairman because I wanted to retire. But having spent 12 years sort of getting this thing off the ground with one or two other people, including the parish council chairman, I just felt, one can't just let it wither. And I'm trying to pull together a group of people who are enthusiastic. They may not be as skilled as one or two of them left, but we will have to work through that. I mean, that's quite an important task.
I think it's a very important task. And personally, I do draw a line between the responsibilities of charity trustees and the expertise they need to give to a charity to drive it forward almost as a business entity, understanding the business plan, understanding legislation, HR and everything else. And then the others who are more volunteers to try and run the SCA. And I sometimes wonder perhaps if that distinction becomes a little bit blurred. I personally would ask, and I've had fellow councillors like to support me, but tomorrow at your meeting, those distinctions are made, and that there's a big difference between being a charity trustee and a member of the SCA and the roles that entails.
Well, what one is trying to do at the moment, Nick, is to bring back the skills of some of those who have undoubtedly skills. And if they only come back as, if you like, a management team, call it what you will, below the trustees, then so be it. At least that will share the responsibilities for keeping the grass done, white lining, etc., etc. And so I've drawn up a list with 12 tasks that we need to share. So it's actually quite a formidable thing. I mean, I know the chairman has mentioned to me before that the loos aren't clean. And it's a very mundane thing, but it's critically important.
I didn't notice on your
Our
accounts.
new cleaner, incidentally, is on holiday in America. So, you just add one more issue to the issues that are going to be addressed. So, this conversation started, Chairman, with, can you update us on the AGM? Well, the AGM has been held, and I chaired it, and I was extremely careful not to be drawn into any form of confrontation. And one of the reasons is that these couple, they had asked for an independent assessment, and we conceded that in the previous meeting. Karina was tasked immediately to contact this person, and unfortunately, the what I call guilty named party got there first, and ridiculously picked up the bias, and she, at Ayres, said quite clearly, oh, call off the AGM. And then the next thing is that I'm being told by your chairman that the AGM has been called off. And the guilty party who called it off wouldn't even tell me who had been advised of the calling off of the meeting. So we were left in a situation where illegally somebody had called off the AGM with no authority whatsoever, other than allegedly.
It went ahead.
Yes,
that was the main thing.
It went ahead.
We've got to drive
Whether
forwards.
the people who were cancelled knew about it is questionable. I would think there's probably about 25, 30 people there. So it wasn't by all means Sidlesham who'd been told that the AGM had been cancelled.
Well, it was everybody on an email list, wasn't it?
I don't know, because they refused, I'm afraid, to tell me who'd been
But
told.
everybody that had a newsletter in the village or outside the village was told.
Chairman, can I put a proposal to this meeting?
Yeah.
I'd like to propose that we defer this item because we have had an ad hoc report of the AGM, but as what would normally have been part of your understanding of the AGM is going to take place tomorrow for their committee meeting, that we defer this item till after that committee meeting and ask for an update of all of that at the next meeting, because I think it's very
Yeah, I totally support that.
Do I have I suppose, do I have a seconder?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. Can we have a vote?
Yeah. I only have one thing I'd like to add to that is when you report back at the next meeting, could we have some idea of the business plan going forward, how we're going to make the money which we would need to demonstrate to a charity, to the lottery, and which would support our medium-term ambitions of rebuilding the hall and everything else, because personally I'm a little bit worried that we've got a long way to go and no real plan on how to get there. And I think this is fundamental to the way we go and move forward.
I agree with you entirely, but if I can just say, be guarded, because you've got a group of new people who are coming in whose expertise, I would say, is not that high in terms of their business background, and therefore issues such as are coming up on the agenda, what about the Infinity Agreement, what about the Memorandum of Understanding, those two items are known. The only person that's going to do that is myself, but I'm the treasurer and I'm already working 5 days a week. So
I'm not putting the pressure on you, Norman, I'm just trying to highlight the challenges that are in front of us.
So if my proposal was accepted, we should be moving on to the next item.
As we've said, we will move on to the
yes,
next item.
okay.
Okay.
Serves the usual purpose.
Yeah. Right. Correspondence received.
No, you
sorry,
jumped.
What about the temporary?
You jumped a bit there.
I thought
Status of done, status of that. Temporary roof repairs.
I thought you wanted to jump through the whole lot.
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh,
There was
right,
that one
okay.
item that I put my proposal and that's been done.
Okay,
It's
so
been deferred.
basically,
So I think
you want to
that should
continue,
really
you want to
include the...
continue at 8 point.
No, I think that
Right.
includes your little list that you've just given to Norman about the
Continue taking
the MOU
0.5.
or whatever. So I think if you move to 8.4, 8.5, that's probably
No, I think
Was there
Should we
a
actually
do the
count
agreement yet? Because they haven't got the new people in place there.
Lord, are you ready to talk about the Infinity Agreement, or shall we leave that till next time?
I think that
I leave it to next time, but what I would